What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Savour Success podcast. I'm your host, Kellen Cullen, and on this week's show, we are diving into the squishy story behind the Mallow Makers, a Northern Irish brand that's reinventing the humble marshmallow into creative and whimsical gifts and incredible treats. I sat down with Ingrid, the creative force behind the Sweet Success, who took us on our journey from redundancy during the pandemic to creating a beloved business that's turning marshmallows into works of art. We'll dive into how she built her brand from scratch, the challenges she faces daily as a solo entrepreneur, the secrets behind her innovative marshmallow creations, and how she balances it all while being a full-time mother. Plus, she shares valuable lessons for aspiring entrepreneurs and how to balance life whilst chasing your dream. You won't want to miss this episode, so get ready for a deliciously inspiring feel-good episode. And now let's get started. Well, hello everybody. So today we have Ingrid here from the Mallow Makers. Welcome to the show, Ingrid. You and your team have been doing a fantastic job lately creating awesome products over the last few years, and it's great to have you on the show. So why don't you start by introducing yourself and take us through all things Mallow Makers?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, we are based, I'll say we a lot, but it's just me, based in Northern Ireland, so a little town called Bangor on the east coast, about 15 miles from Belfast. So we started way back in, well, 2020, and we're one of those lockdown startups. So yeah, I mean, this was never in the plan, but in 2020, the start of the year, I was made redundant. And then lockdown happened and kind of in a bit of a low place, trying to homeschool my 6-year-old, which was not happening. So I started actually going back to my roots, which was creating and drawing, and I had a creative Instagram account, and on that, one of the posts I did was 10 things you don't know about me. So, and this is still nothing to do with marshmallows, but one of the things I put in the 10 things you don't know about me is I make the world's best marshmallows. So, of course, anybody who's following me at that time because of illustration was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, we want to know all about these marshmallows." So, what I started to do was making them again after I think I'd learned to make them about 10 years previously, maybe not even that long. And had always done it for friends and family. And whenever you do that, people are always like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even realize you could make marshmallows. Is this a thing?" So anyway, I started making them again, and because we were in lockdown, I was posting them out to friends and family and just people I was meeting. But one friend in particular, Lisa, now I used to work with Lisa. She's like a retail manager, but we got on really well. And she's like, "Ingrid, I can't stop thinking about marshmallows." And she's one of these people who she's an ideas person, sparks fly whenever she brainstorms. And she's like, "Would you fancy doing this together?" Because she had just had a baby. She was in maternity. We're all in lockdown, and like by myself, absolutely no way would I have done this, but together we were getting so excited about it. And because of our background in retail design and branding, we kind of knew how to kickstart it and hit the ground running. So that's when it started, and people went nuts for it. And that was a very exciting start to the Mallow Makers.
Well, that's what I love about the story. That and what caught my eye, and I wanted to get you on the show is because I don't know anyone else doing marshmallow fluff or marshmallow in general in Ireland, and it's a fantastic culinary innovation to be part of. And being here in America, I've seen it before, but I haven't seen it in Ireland. So how did you even know how to make marshmallow? Was it like you said 10 years ago you kind of
Yeah.
learned, or what brought the spark of the idea to life 10 years ago?
So the first time I tried to make marshmallows was actually because I had had fail after epic fail trying to make macaron. So
Okay.
at the time, that whole side of patisserie and home baking was really exploding, and everyone was making these beautiful macaron. And I thought I'll give that a go, which I did. And like I just was going through kilos and kilos of ground almonds, and the results were just heartbreaking. So, um, at the time, I was in a bit of a low spot. Something had happened, and I was spending a lot of time at home. Baking was my therapy. Um, but the macarons just wasn't happening for me. So I found a book in Lakeland, and it was just how to make marshmallows. And I read the recipe because the way she had laid it out, it's very methodical. So once you get the method down, the variations of flavors, shapes, form, there was I could see the potential in this
Yeah.
one recipe. It all came from one like base recipe. So I gave that a go and it worked first time, perfection. And that's when the ideas started to go because yeah, the way I treat marshmallow is it's almost like an artist medium. So say you were a watercolor or you were into acrylics, like that is my base material. And from that, I can go in so many different directions, like flavors, shapes, colors. Yeah, like that's when I'm just in my sweet spot. I've got a basic recipe and there's so much potential with it. And yeah, I just fell in love with marshmallow.
And do you think now, so now that you're doing like more artisanal stuff, I've tried making before when I had the ice cream company and it was a disaster. It was an absolute mess. And as you're saying, it's very methodical and you need to get the method down, everything. And I didn't really know what I was doing. So it is a lot more artisan, So it's great to see that you're trying to change that to add flavor and different textures and ideas behind it. I've seen you doing a lot of culinary innovations like s'mores kits, the marshmallow fluffs. I'd love for you to break down your kind of idea into going into different products.
Okay, so I mean, the fluff came a lot later. It was always all about the marshmallows initially. And because we're in lockdown, the format was we called them letterbox mallows. So if you can imagine the size of a postcard, like postcard sized, and it was slim enough to fit through a letterbox. So in the UK, our letterboxes are can be as small as 25 millimeters deep. So I had a box, don't have one to hand, but it was literally a postcard size. And then it was one giant slab of mallow cut into 12 individual mallows. So that was the very first format. And we were selling those, we were having flavor drops was it every week? I can't even remember. Might have been every fortnight or every month, but we had flavor drops and people would come back time after time for their letterbox mallows. But
And
from
what type
that,
of flavors were you doing?
so at the time, it was, I don't know, everyone was just going mad for chocolate inclusions. So it wasn't artisanal
Mm.
flavors that you would think. It was more just inclusions. So people love their Maltesers. Like over
Wow.
in the UK, we love sorry, UK and Ireland, we love our Maltesers, Galaxy, Kinder Bueno, Mars bars. But each flavor I tried, um, I was, taking note how popular they were and also how the inclusion was reacting with the mallow. So if you include something like Mars, which has a very like a caramel in it, the moisture in that is going to impact on the mallow itself. So some
Okay.
of them, I was just on a very steep learning curve. What happens when you add certain things into into mallows? Maltesers have always been a very successful one. Yeah, so the flavors initially were pretty basic, but huge crowd pleasers.
Mm.
Um, but
And
from that,
you never done baking. That wasn't really your background, as you said. You were in
no.
marketing before. That was more your expert areas of expertise in creative design. So this is a
Mhm.
brand new world that you were stepping into and just trying to
Yeah.
build the bridge as you were going along, right?
Yeah, totally. And like I said, if I didn't have at the time my business partner, Lisa, just cheering me on, I would be like, no, I can't do this. It's just too scary. But it was gaining momentum all the time and we were just having an absolute ball. It was so exciting. And, social media was something I hadn't really partook in before, but because I was this brand now, not a person, it
Yeah.
was completely different. So it was a wee bit more anonymous and it was all about the marshmallows. So that was doable as well. So
And you were making everything in your home?
yeah. So we're quite strict here about, so we've got a food hygiene rating of
Yeah.
5 stars. Um, but yeah, my husband and my son were just told to keep out of the kitchen, and I'd be there all day and night some days just trying to fulfill all these orders to meet demand. But
Amazing.
like looking back, it was completely bonkers. That first Christmas, hundreds and hundreds of these letterbox Mallow cards were going out, and we called them Squishmas cards because obviously you couldn't
I
see
love that.
people at Christmas. People were sending each other Squishmas cards. And we did Terry's chocolate orange, which is always a favorite at Christmas.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah.
That's excellent. The innovation to go in behind that. And when did the penny drop? Just like, okay, like everyone has the spark of an idea, but when does it hit that, you know, this is a real business here. I could really do something. Was it the Christmas period or was it before?
I think it was before everything started. So Lisa and I, we were like, we knew it was a good idea, but we didn't know, neither of us had done anything in food before. Like I
Yeah.
said, she was a retail designer and I'm graphic design, branding, illustrations. Like we were totally winging it, but I think both of us had this vision of what we could do. Um, and it did just start off with the letterbox mallows, but then we went into the s'mores toasting kits.
Yeah.
And as people were coming out of lockdown and able to meet up, that seemed like a very natural progression into like party kits and, family time and fun with the kids. Or whenever you were allowed to meet outdoors with other families. And then from that, it's kind of moved down the retail route, coming out of the letterbox format and then moving more into like a jumbo 4-pack, which I sell in retail units today. But this was all still way before the fluff even came on the scene. That happened whenever, have I gone off the question here? I can't remember what
No,
you
no,
asked. No.
you're still on track.
So, whenever, so the lockdown and then the second lockdown, like we were getting our lives back to some extent, and obviously people could go out and eat out, and postal gifts, there were still happening, but there wasn't as much demand.
Mm,
So, I can't even remember where I got the idea. Obviously, I was aware of marshmallow fluff and I
yeah.
had tasted it. But for me, it was the whole connection to Italian meringue. And essentially, that's what marshmallow fluff is. But the possibilities and the innovations you can make with Italian meringue alone, that's where my brain was going. So, yes, you can buy a tub of fluff and you can eat it by the spoon or dip or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's the applications into desserts, ice creams, home cooking, busy home bakers being able to have this product that just transforms their desserts or transforms a shop bought dessert to make it
Mm,
look like something they've created and made amazingly fabulous. Like that's where I knew from the start that's where I wanted to bring the fluff. But the reality is the time I had all these ideas, like I mentioned I had a business partner, she had actually left after 1 year to go back to, her job after her leave ended. So I had been by myself for a year or so, just trying to navigate this new, everybody is allowed out again. And that's when I started to go out and do more events and markets, and I had to very much put on my big girl pants and get out from the kitchen
start
and try
selling.
and sell this, try and sell this.
Yeah.
But I'm really not a salesy person. I just don't have that personality.
Mm,
Um, but the best thing was getting out into markets. And I can't remember when I had the idea of the fluff, but at the time it was a very difficult time for the business. Like I wasn't really sure if it was viable anymore at all. Um, And I was having a serious word with myself. Do I have to go and get a proper job again? But at the
Mm.
same time, I was like, but this fluff, it could be so amazing. Um, and then, yeah, that summer we went on holiday, and that holiday we had some serious discussions about, right, we're going to give it to Christmas. This is me and my husband. We'll give it to Christmas, see how that goes, and then we'll take a beauty in January.
And when it comes to, you've built a huge following on Instagram as well. That's what, when I came across your Instagram page a couple of months ago, what originally caught my eye, I was like, wow, 20, I think it's over 20,000 followers, which is a lot of
Yeah.
people pay good money for that, or struggle to get half of those numbers. What do you think is the impact you are having on the community? Because obviously the community was really resonating with your product. What does it mean to you?
Community, like if you don't have that community, I don't know. I have never experienced selling without that.
Mm.
So for me, that was everything because I started from, I remember we celebrated when we had 100 followers. We did we've got 100 followers, let's give you something free. Um, and then it was 1,000, and you hit each milestone. And like, there's people with me today who have been there since day one, and I have customers who keep repeat buying, and I have
Mm.
customers who I know by name, and I have customers who I can ask their opinion of, and there's nothing as valuable as that direct feedback from people who are, bought into the brand. They understand what you're trying to do, and have really helpful insights and ideas. And um, yeah, I mean, I just, you can't buy that. And I don't know how I would have got that any other way than through the social media.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you were saying that you're not much of a salesperson, right? And a lot of people in food aren't really. We're more of the creative types, the innovators and stuff like that. And you can't have everything because you have to wear so many hats, from chef to marketer to salesperson, and obviously a parent and wife as well. So you're juggling so many hats when it comes to being an entrepreneur and the day-to-day runnings of it. So there's so many obstacles you have to try and figure out as well. And how do you yourself kind of motivate yourself to get through those so many obstacles that come hand in hand with being a food entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think it's not easy. I mean, it's easy to just go with the flow when you're in the moment
Yeah.
and you're maybe on a high and there's adrenaline. But the hard part, like my son is between his transfer tests. He had one last Saturday and he's got his second one in 2 days' time. So, like, I'm trying to be in full on supportive mummy mode, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I've got all these wholesale inquiries coming in. So, there's a wee bit of, well, there's a lot of mum guilt. But my husband's been brilliant at the like tutoring side. Like, he is much better at the academic side, whereas I'm there for the creativity. Like my wee boy is such a budding foodie. He's
Amazing.
kind of on the snobby end of being a foodie, which is
Nothing wrong with
kind of
that.
frustrating. Um, I think I'll appreciate it someday, but at the moment it's a wee bit frustrating. Um, but yeah, the juggle, whenever it's hard whenever you get sick and you think, I literally can't be sick now because I have to be in these three places and there's nobody else to make the stuff. And I just, there's a balance to be struck between calling it, right, I'm too sick to do anything,
Yeah.
and just, sucking it up and wrapping up and getting out there. So, but I definitely have become more in tune with myself, with my body, with my needs, with my mood swings, to know this is when I need to pay attention to, or okay, I've literally hit the wall. I need to take the rest of the afternoon off, or just not work till 11 o'clock tonight or whatever. So I've learned to read myself a lot better as well, which is actually a really valuable
Yeah.
lesson.
I have a few. There was someone on the podcast previously that he'd work 15 hours a day, and it's all kind of catching up on him now. And one of the pieces of advice he gave at the end was, look after yourself, because if you don't, you'll end up like basically, for one, a burnout is a word, but also doing an injury to yourself, and you'll resent the work that you're doing if you don't look after yourself properly as well whilst you're doing it. So you
Yeah.
have to take these moments to yourself and make sure you are listening to your body and your mind whilst you're being an entrepreneur, because there's so many challenges that go with it. And if one of those, if your body or your mind goes, it's just going to make things 10 times worse.
Especially when you've a little person to look after and a husband to feed, and you just have to say, have a word with yourself the odd time and be like, right, let's look at the big picture here. What are the important things that need to stay? What can go? How can this be simplified? What can I get help with?
Hmm.
So
And the big picture is important, and it's a great segue onto my next question. Where do you see the brand going over the next couple of years? There's so much room for growth, and it's really exciting time. So what's Ingrid's vision for the Mallow Makers?
I mean, this does change on a daily basis, but I would say ultimately I love the balance of that I have at the moment of being creative. So that includes new product development, design, the brand design, illustrated cards, collaborations. I love that side of the business. The only thing that pulls me back is that, like, I'm still making absolutely everything. Um, I don't
Are you,
know if,
are you still based out of home?
yeah.
You are.
hmm So, for example, on what day is this? Thursday. On Monday, I think I must have made 25 kilos of Wonder Fluff.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and I have a 20-liter buffalo mixer, which can make 2.5 kilos at a time. So I've scaled up, I think, to as much as one person can with the number of hours that there are in a day. I think my big question for myself is, do I get help with production, and what does that look like? Like, I have never wanted to operate it out of a bigger factory or scale up in that sense. I've never been interested in selling into the multiples when they're ordering crates. That has never been my vision, because I love the creative side and I would just hate to miss out on that.
Mm,
But I don't know if there's somebody who could help me make the stuff that would free up my time. They might have to sign something so that they don't give my recipes to anyone else. But
of course.
I might be open to that, because this next year it could look very different. I've got a few ideas, and it's all about format.
Mm,
If I don't want to give too much away, but um, if I keep trying to push lots of online sales, that's still me making a lot through the
yeah.
night. Um,
And
so
I,
I
I was
think
gonna
those
I was
kind of,
gonna ask about that, how one of our previous guests as well never thought online would be an avenue for him. He was like, no, who's gonna order my product online? Because he has a retail store, and it turns out he was completely wrong. So how has online impacted yourself, and would you recommend that to other food entrepreneurs who are in a similar kind of confectionery style?
absolutely. Well, that's where we started.
Mm,
It was online. We had a really simple e-commerce website, which we created, and all the sales still come through that. Majority of sales, but um, I really need to spend more time on SEO and all the back end stuff in
yeah.
order to push that a bit more. But maybe no, definitely online it's such a worthwhile, like, pot where you can dip into, but it can be a very competitive place as well. So, and also people can see what you're doing and say, I think I'm gonna have a go at that as well. So there's always gonna be lots of competition for that. Well, relatively small. It's quite a niche product and a niche um market as well. Well, in Ireland anyway. So, yeah, but I would encourage anyone to go down that route.
For sure. And what areas have you exported to before? Okay, so Ireland, the UK, is America on the cards for you?
I have sent to America before, but what makes me nervous is because my product shelf life, and if there's any delay, it doesn't leave a lot of time at the end, at the other side. So my Wonder Fluff shelf life is 6 weeks from production. No, sorry, 4 weeks, and the marshmallows are 6 weeks. So there's not a lot of room for error there if there was to be a delayed shipment, and single orders as well. And it's so expensive to send
Yeah.
across the Atlantic as well.
So it'll be a volume thing. So any American listeners here, everyone start putting in a bid together and start ordering from yourself to get a big bulk order. Okay, what do you want the message to convey to everybody that?
Well, I think it's important not to take marshmallows too seriously. I mean, at the end of the day, there there's always going to be an element of fun about them because they're just squishy, and just something so delightful about getting something so squishy, and I just never want to lose sight of that enjoyment. But I
Mm.
think, I mean, I've mentioned it before, it's always like it's like a love language to me because some people will make a beautiful hamper and beautiful gifts, and they're really good at shopping for people and knowing exactly what they want. I'm terrible at that, but I love to make, gifts for people. When I was little, it would have been, drawings or whatever. Marshmallows is something that I know most people will enjoy. So by creating the Mallow Makers, I'm then allowing other people to gift people with these little tiny squishy pleasures, and it's just about spreading that message, when things are tough. Well,
Mm.
it came from when times were tough. Here's a little something that is delicious, but it's also going to put a smile on your face. Yeah, it's just fun and creative, and it's a way to let people know that you're thinking about them.
It's amazing. That really is to be part of either good moments, bad moments, and just try and put a smile on people's face with good quality artisanal food is it's a feeling unlike any other, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's very admirable that you're doing stuff like that to kind of give people back a smile, especially you said the idea came from COVID during probably one of the hardest times for a lot of people, and you were able to bring those moments of joy to people during a very hard time. So it's an
Yeah.
amazing idea, and I can't wait to see it continue to grow. And you're starting to get some recognition as well, from the Blast and Heron, which is great. What does recommendations through like Blast and Heron and awards mean to yourself?
Well, awards are something I've always watched other people get them and thought, oh wow, their stuff must be incredible. I must try that. So for me to be shortlisted as a finalist, and
Mm.
especially in the Blast na Aaron, I thought, okay, I can maybe knock the imposter syndrome on the head a wee bit now. I think a lot of it's in your head that you're not good enough or that your stuff isn't up there. But I mean, when people tell you repeatedly, "Oh, that's delicious," or "Oh, I love, getting your deliveries," you do eventually start to believe it. And then whenever you get someone like Glass Awards recognize it, it really means so, so much. But yeah, it's like people can then see, yes, it's an accreditation, but the people that give these, they're not like, I think the point I'm trying to say is the people in the food industry are lovely. Like everybody I've met is so down to earth, especially the crowd down in Dingle. I didn't feel like an imposter down there, even though I had the right to be there because I was a finalist.
Yeah.
As someone who just would think a lot, no, I'm not good enough for, there's other people far better. It's always a good thing to get that kind of recognition, and then to meet the people and realize actually they're so lovely and they're not scary. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. And the food world, I always found are the best type of entrepreneurs because we're all trying to do something that's being part of everyday people's lives, and just trying
Yeah.
to, as we were talking a second ago about bring a bit of joy, whether it's yourself, so with the Mallows, whether it's a drinks company, a jam company, whatever it is, and we're all trying to kind of do the same thing, and we're not competing against each other as well, and it's not like it's not a vicious cycle of, oh, they're against me, or no, everyone's kind of together and going through similar struggles. And that's what I always loved
Yeah.
about the food world and food entrepreneurs in particular. And it's great to see that you're getting involved and enjoying it, and seeing getting over that imposter syndrome, and being with the people that are very similar to yourself in the sense of what they want to do. So you
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah, absolutely. It was just such a brilliant experience to be down there. We were part of, so we have a really, really brilliant food network up here. We have a network officer, Connell Stewart. He is amazing. And when he's in your corner as a food producer, he will put you forward for things that, like, he was the one who said, right, enter your Wonder Fluff. And then he was the one that said, right, come down to Dingle and be part of the Taste Ireland in a day tour. So with people like that pushing you and championing your
Your
product,
corner.
yeah, exactly. It really is so valuable. And it was just such a brilliant experience, like meeting Fallon and Artie and
Yeah.
just having really lovely chats with them. It just makes the vastness of the industry seem a lot closer and a lot more attainable and a lot less scary. Um yeah, and even people like yourself reaching out, it's like, okay, so I'm doing something here and I'm getting noticed, and I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, so it's working.
Exactly, exactly. It's about the momentum and keeping the motivation, because during the hardest moments as a food entrepreneur, there's plenty every day. There's 101 things that go wrong to every good thing, but in in ways like the recognition from your peers is a great motivation to keep going and keep bringing the products and innovating around that. So your brand has changed so much. Not necessarily your brand, but your products have changed so much over the last 4 years. From the day you started, I'd say you look back. I remember I did anyway. We're like, well, what was I doing? It's like, but now 4 years on, you've got from the mallows to the fluff to the s'mores kits. So in the sense of innovation, and do you have any more innovations that you want to start going into now? And what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, the innovation is the stuff I love. That is, if I could spend all my time doing that, I would. This year I dipped my toes into, not literally, but chocolate. I bought, well, I tried just hand tempering, just tempering using the microwave. And you see, once you get that crunch and you achieve that, the
Yeah.
crack of the chocolate, it was like a eureka moment. I was like, right, okay, this could totally change things up. And so I don't know if the price of proper tempering machines. They are in the thousands. So that's not an option. But I bought myself this little 3 kilo one that sits on my countertop. And again, it's quite a timely process to temper the chocolate to the right temperature. But once I have that, the chocolate, I can then cover, so I've made Mars, Snickers, and Bounty Bites. So
Wow.
they
Okay.
are so flippin' delicious. And
I need to try these. They sound amazing.
but I've renamed them, obviously, for intellectual property rights, whatever. But anybody who tastes them are like, Ingrid, these are better than the real thing.
Awesome.
And I kind of, like, for me to say that, it's really ick, but I agree with them because, like, I could give or take marshmallows. Like, I'm more of a savory person, but when it comes to the Mars, the Snickers, and the Bounty Bites, yeah, no, I could eat those all day. Basically, so the base is a chocolate marshmallow. So it's my base recipe, chocolate marshmallow. I then taught myself how to make a really delicious, like, sink your teeth into caramel.
Wow.
Um, it's like a salted caramel. I don't actually believe in caramel without salt, so it's like a salted caramel, and then on top, so that is the Mars is just covered in chocolate. The
Mm.
Snickers one is exactly the same, but the caramel is absolutely rammed with peanuts and more salt. And
Amazing.
then the Bounty one is just a vanilla mallow on the base. And then on top of that is like a coconut truffle like you would find in a Bounty bar. And then that's covered in chocolate.
I'd
And
say everyone that's listening to this,
it's
like
delish.
myself, is just like in awe, needs to try this right now. But you're saying you're working on these incredible products at the
Yeah.
moment. When are you hoping to have these ready for customers, or is that kind of on the roadmap for now?
Well, they are ready, and I have brought them
Amazing.
to events, and I've had them on the website. But the issue, as ever, is the time it takes to make them,
Yeah,
being able to scale up, knowing what to charge for them because of the time it takes. Like I know if I had a massive tempering machine costing 20 grand, I could get, make thousands of these, but I'm a home producer.
yeah,
I'm never gonna go that way. So this is where I reach a bit of a bottleneck because I have the ideas and I have the recipe. Like I don't believe I can make these any better than they are now, but I just don't have the facilities. I don't have a factory, so I just don't really know where to go with that.
it's a great problem to have in a way. If you were making these products and no one was buying them, or there was no interest in it, but now you're getting such interest and like with over 20,000 followers on Instagram, it's you're people would think you're this big conglomerate, or you've got these massive factories
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but it is just yourself in a small kitchen. So it's a good problem to have. As you know yourself, you definitely have decisions to be made over the next year. What I usually ask people is about personal growth. I am kind of obsessed when it comes to personal and entrepreneurial growth, okay? Whether it's making sure you're reading every day, exercising. When it comes to personal growth for yourself, Ingrid, and self improvement. What does that mean for you? Because people listen to podcasts for self improvement at the end of the day, listen to stories and learn. So, what does self improvement mean for yourself?
For me, as a creative person, I just know that I need to carve out time and space to actually sit and draw and do my illustration and just because I have a whole separate side of my life where I love like meeting up with people. I've created built up this thing called Sketch Club where we go and we meet once a month. And it's a friend who I was at art college with 20 odd years ago. So he is a watercolor artist and we come together and we will meet somewhere different every month. And we'll take a few hours out in the morning and just sit and draw together. And it's still a very small community,
Mm,
but I just know I need that headspace to create and just to chat with other like-minded people
yeah,
who just love sitting in even companionable silence. But we could be in somewhere really beautiful. And normally we try to go outside and just draw what we see or draw whatever you want. But there's nobody there teaching us. There's no agenda. Nobody's looking over your shoulder. It's just a really lovely like creative community. And I have found that that's really important for me to keep up and
so it's
just
a form of meditation. It sounds like, to
yeah.
escape from the craziness of being a food entrepreneur and just do something that you've been doing. I'm assuming since you were a child,
Yeah.
in drawing and being creative and drawing what you see. So it's a form of meditation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I think it's just the total freedom to do that. And then trying to keep a sketchbook, because that's once a month, keeping a sketchbook where I can just do whatever I want, just
Yeah.
playfully. It's not for anybody, it's not for anything. It's just really just another outlet. Some people, I guess, find it in exercise. Some people might find it in creating music or
Yeah.
going to music.
Yeah.
But for me, it's in just drawing and painting.
And
Mm.
it's important that, again, as an entrepreneur, you could be spending 15, 16 hours a day in the kitchen, creating stuff. And then when you're not doing that, you're responding to Instagram messages or coming on podcasts, So you have to spend time doing the stuff that you've always loved to do, whether, as you said, it's once a month, maybe an hour a week or something like that, just to break that cycle that, oh, this is never ending. But it does really help because you come back more refreshed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
100%. And what's interesting is in America, it's a very different situation when it comes to food and just being entrepreneurs, and they're hyper obsessed in a sense with, let's say, a monetary success. That's how they rank success, you know. And Ireland, I think, is a bit different. I know I was a bit different with the way I viewed success. So, Ingrid, when it comes to success, right, with the Mallow Makers, what does it mean?
I think for me, success would have to be getting a balance between work and not work. I think if I was making loads of money, I just have to ask myself, what would that look like for my personal life? Because, well, first of all, I'm not making loads of money and I'm still working too hard. So I haven't got that balance yet. But for me, success would be having the time, like a realistic working day where you're not having to work through the night, the weekends. Like October was absolutely crazy. It started off, I think whenever you're a home producer, you, you just don't want to say no to anything. But
Yeah.
Dingle was brilliant, but that was what, 4 or 5 days. The following weekend, I had a 2 day event. Then I had a weekend off. And then the following weekend, I had another 2 day event. And then all the days in between, you're just making stock for those events. So October, I don't think I took a day off, but I paid for it because I got really sick. And then I had to take a week off when my son was off for his half term. So to me, that was not as, yes, it was a very exhilarating and exciting month, but it wasn't successful in terms of, you know, the price I paid personally for it. So I just striking that balance would be the ultimate success. And if you
Finding
know how I can get that,
work, play, family, trying to all balance that together, and that's the way you envision the form of success. That's when you know is like after a month, it's like, okay, I spent a good bit of time with the people I care about, that I've made some incredible products, and I was able to grow the business as well.
yeah, absolutely.
And who do you think, there's so many people out, especially in the Irish and the UK scene now, doing incredible work, especially in the food and confectionery area. And who do you see at the moment and that you look at as setting the standard that is doing a fantastic job?
There's a couple of girls in Ballyclare and Templepatrick called Barbara Ann and Ruth, and they have a business called U&A Cookies. Um, and I just think they're brilliant because they are, well, first of all, they have grown a business from they were they existed before lockdown, but they pivoted into cookies from doing lots of other stuff. And from that, they have grown and they have adapted and they've been agile and they have moved premises and they've taken over TikTok. And I just really look to them as people who are so open-minded about where their business goes. And they have a fabulous team as well, which they are bringing along with them and keeps growing as well. But as people, they're probably the most genuine girls that you would ever meet, and they've been a super supporter of my business too, because like they will sell, I don't know how many boxes of cookies they sell, but they offer the Wonder Fluff tubs as an add-on. So I get orders from them every week or every other week. And they've always worked with me if I've had issues with, structure or the recipe, that there's always a communication between us. And they've always allowed me to sort out any issues. And I just really appreciate that from them because they know what it's like. But I
Nice.
just think as kind of role models for small business, I think they're brilliant. Now, I don't know if this is controversial, but I always look to Marks and Spencer's. I think they are on top of their food game. I think
Yeah.
they've got some incredible innovators and incredible thinkers behind their food development, and their
Mhm.
MPD is just constant. And I'm always watching to see what they are coming up with. They seem to be like, I think they're probably following trends rather than
Yeah.
setting them, but they seem to be able to respond really quickly um to what's happening on like social media and food that way. So
They're very on the ball. I've always thought that about Marks and Spencers because I'm pretty sure they produce all their own food or they outsource a lot of their products with just Marks and Spencers branding on it. So it's not like let's say Tesco who buys products off other people and have different brands on. That's why Marks and
Mm.
Spencers are so effective. And it's interesting. They started off in clothing and then they developed into the food and now
Yeah.
they're the pinnacle of like luxury food, especially around Christmas time
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I think they have, and they've, whatever image they're portraying, they just seem to be, everybody's shopping with them now. It's not just for, the people who have lots of money. There's
Yeah.
always something so everybody can get in Marks and Spencer's. So I know, I think if the marshmallow thing doesn't work out, I'll maybe be asking them for a job.
Culinary innovator at Marks and
Well,
Spencers. That'd be a good job, in
that would
fairness.
be the dream,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's so many people I follow. I'm just thinking again about who inspires me, but um, I love what there's a lot of influencers out there who are creating their own recipes and have found like their niche, and they're just absolutely killing it. There's a girl in America called Broma Bakery. I'm not sure
I
if
haven't.
you're aware of her, the way they develop recipes or just the way they work with certain ingredients. I think people who really know their brand and know their audience and know what they're pitching, and then they're very authentic in doing it.
Yeah.
Anybody like that, I'm just watching their every move to see what they're doing and how they're
Right.
doing it.
Drawing inspiration from the
Absolutely.
people you look up to is a really important thing as well, because it's all collaboration, as you were saying with Barbara and Ruth. Collaboration is so important, and if they inspire you, you don't know, you're probably inspiring them as well. So we'll give Barbara and Ruth a big shout out of what's the name of the brand again?
So it's ooh and ah cookies. Yeah. So Barbara Ann and Ruth, and they're brilliant. Yeah, they're class.
Perfect, 100%. We'll make sure to tag them in this as well, and hopefully we'll get them on and we'll do a big joint session together. So, Ingrid, we're almost at time here. So, what I always ask of our guests is to give one piece of advice to any aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are thinking about getting involved in it, but don't really know where to start. And as you know yourself, you were in marketing for years. You'd never really done food before. So, what's
No.
one piece of advice you would give any aspiring entrepreneurs out there that are listening?
I would say, like, just don't underestimate people, especially yourself. Like, you might have a dream, and my dream as a little girl was to have, my own studio doing something creative. I didn't know what that was. And then growing up, I thought, okay, I'm going to be a graphic designer. But my heart wasn't really, I was a graphic designer on the surface, but inside, probably not. And had it not been for being made redundant and being forced into this in a way, I never would have taken that leap. But I would say, when I look back to little Ingrid, like, I know now she would have absolutely loved what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Um, so if you have that little nugget and you're like, that'll never happen, like, you will get there. It may be like I went a bit like this to get here. And plus there was a pandemic and all sorts of stuff in the mix. But
It's never really A to B, is it? It's never really a
no,
straight line. It's up,
no,
down, left, right. Sometimes you go backwards, and
yeah,
it's all part of the
no,
journey.
absolutely. And then just the people, but it's all about the people you meet as well, because you never know what conversation is going to lead to. Just don't be too fast to shut doors that you think aren't going to lead anywhere. Just be open-minded and try and step back so you can see the bigger picture, and things that you mightn't be able to see if you're just stuck in the details.
For sure.
Um, yeah.
That's great. That's great. No, always back yourself. I love that. Never underestimate what you can do in people always overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do in a year.
Mm.
So really try push yourself and back yourself, I always say as well. So we're both both agree on that sense. I saw on Instagram a tiramisu marshmallow fluff, right? So I wanted to ask, where can people find more about the Mallow Makers, and where can people get your products?
Yeah, this is the tiramisu here, so I don't know if you can taste this through the screen.
I wish, I
Uh,
wish. I'm jealous. When I saw it, it just looked so indulgent, and it was amazing. I love that. That's
So
fantastic.
if you live in the UK or Ireland, this is like a Christmas release, and
Amazing.
I've collaborated with Bro Coffee, so they are a local coffee roaster.
Yeah,
So still working with them to get the flavor just right, because if their name's on it, I want them to be happy with it too. So,
100%.
um, but it's such an exciting collaboration. I don't know, tiramisu is having a moment at
It
the
is.
moment.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like the most obvious thing for
It's
Christmas.
very on trend. That's why when I saw it, I was like, that I need to try that some shape or form. I need to get it to New York. I'm a big fan of tiramisu. And
Yeah, we could do an experiment. I could ship it over and you could tell me what condition it arrives in.
I'm happy to do that. That's fantastic. I look forward to seeing that product more. And it says Bro Coffee, is it?
Bro Coffee, and they're based about 5 miles away from me. But yeah, they have a double award-winning coffee in this, and their decaf was a gold winner at Blast this year as well. So very good
Yep.
guys.
We'll make sure to tag them as well. It's all about collaboration. So yeah, where can people find more about yourself, Ingrid, and the Mallow Makers, and any products that are in retail or anything like that?
So the best way to keep in touch is on social media. On Instagram, we're at _Mallow_Makers. The website is themallowmakers.com, but it's probably not as up to date as social media would be. I'm quite active on stories. If there's stuff happening daily, it'll be on the stories. Facebook, just by default, whenever I post on Instagram, it'll go to Facebook. I'm not
Yeah.
generally on Facebook. And then TikTok, I dabble in, but it's quite terrifying there, so I don't post there very often. But I think it's the Mallow Makers as well on there. Retailers, if you're in Belfast, Born and Bred, our stockists, they are going to be getting a delivery of the tiramisu actually, and Born and Bred is going to be there this Friday.
Fantastic.
And they're also getting the Terry's chocolate orange marshmallows. And then Indie Food in Cumber as well. They have a lot of stock at the moment.
Great. No, that's fantastic. We'll make sure to tag all the locations, yourself as well. So, guys, I've been seeing so much about you guys on Instagram, and I'm delighted to have gotten you on today. You've got a fantastic story, and the product is speaking for itself at the moment, showing how busy you are. So, look forward to seeing more culinary innovations, and hopefully now trying the product, get it shipped out to New York, and I can try the tiramisu. But
Yeah.
Ingrid, thank you so much for jumping on. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone loved that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great chatting to you. And give me your
Fantastic.
address for the tiramisu fluff.
That's a plan. Cheers. Thanks a mil.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. That's it for today's episode of the Savour Success podcast. A huge thank you to Ingrid for sharing her incredible and wholesome journey with us and showing how creativity and resilience can turn just a simple idea into a thriving business. If you're inspired by her story, be sure to check out the Mallow Makers and explore their sweet and indulgent offerings. Remember, every small idea has the potential to become something extraordinary. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and even leave us a review. We've got plenty more inspiring stories coming your way, so stay tuned. Thanks for listening. I've been Caelan Cullen, and keep savouring success.